So I'm here with David Cobb on November 29th in Montpelier, and we just had a meeting with, 400, 500 people, sponsored by some local organizations, about corporate personhood. So you were here about a year ago. Tell us what's new. Tell me what you've got.
Well, when I was here last, I was talking about the growing movement to abolish the legal doctrine of corporate personhood. The idea that a corporation can claim to be a person with constitutional rights, and to abolish the doctrine that money is speech. In the time that we've been together, we had about 10,000 people participating. In 1 year, that number's gone to 150,000 people and growing. So if you haven't yet joined, go to movetoamend.org, sign up so we can be in touch, or give us a call at 707-269-0984. In addition to that, I'm proud to tell you that we have already passed advisory opinions using the Citizens Initiative process in Madison, Wisconsin, in Dane County, in Humboldt County, California, in Missoula, Montana, in Boulder, Colorado. Each one of those passed by over 3/4 of the vote. We just qualified a similar ballot initiative in West Allis, Wisconsin, which is a very conservative suburb of Milwaukee. We expect to win that one as well. More polling data has come forward. Roughly 80% of the American people support this campaign. We're getting larger, stronger, and better organized. And I do believe that Vermont is going to be the first state victory that we have on this campaign. And I want to be very clear. We're going to amend the U.S. Constitution. This isn't just a, quote, educational campaign. We're in it to win it.
Great. Well, are you seeing, last time we spoke about sort of this left-right political wedge and realizing that this issue isn't easy to put in one corner or the other, that, diehard libertarians can see this and far-left progressives can see this. Are you seeing that out in the world broadly, or what's that looking like?
Absolutely. This issue is non-ideological because it's not about an issue. It's about first principles. And it is about the best instincts of we as a people and the promise of a democratic republic in the United States of America. The civil libertarians completely understand it. Progressives understand it. Principal conservatives understand it. The problem, and I think that, let's be clear, the Tea Party is angry about the takeover of our country by the ruling elite. The Occupy movement is angry at the takeover of our country by the ruling elite. And frankly, the Tea Party focuses on the federal government. The Occupy Wall Street focuses on corporate America. I'm here to tell you that basically they're in cahoots, and that's the overlap. There's the sweet spot of a Venn diagram when and you've seen that one, right? That is a beautiful graphic representation of the genuine overlap. The large transnational corporations have hijacked the government in order to have the government pass laws that benefit the corporations at the expense of the people and the planet.
Right. Well, I think it's refreshing to see maybe Vermont's a small enough microcosm of an economy with a border around it that has enough companies like Ben & Jerry's and others that understand that business isn't evil, that business can be a solution, business can do good things for all the stakeholders, and that it's not always just about bottom line. But I'm working now with 1% for the Planet, which is a global alliance of businesses that are in that same vein of thought, committing to giving money to environmental causes and committing to trying to do good things with their company. So where does this sort of two sides of the corporate coin, how does this shake out? It's obvious who the David and Goliath is in the room, so how does a massive movement of lots of well-meaning corporate companies, business leaders, activists, how does that overwhelm the enormous concentration of corporate power that's running our government and running our Supreme Court?
Well, let's just be clear. It's the same problem that was faced by the abolitionists. It's the same problem that was faced by the women of the Seneca Falls, the same problem that was faced by the trade unionists, the same problem that was faced by the civil rights activists. What we're talking about is the need to shift our political consciousness and to exercise our power. We have so much more power collectively than we even dare to imagine, but we're not exercising it. These 500 people are beginning the process of figuring out how to proceed. I'm very glad that there are corporate associations like the one you've just described that are doing good work. But I want to be clear. I don't think that is the answer any more than I think any one thing is the answer. I do believe this. Ultimately, we have to come to terms with the fact that the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. The Supreme Court has perverted our supreme law, and it's going to take a mass movement to correct them. The same way we corrected them when they said in Plessy versus Ferguson that no black man has any rights that a white man is bound to respect. The same way that we had to correct them when in Minor versus Happersett they said women are not persons for the purposes of the 14th Amendment. The same way we had to correct them in the Dred Scott decision when they said that separate but equal is not a violation of the 14th Amendment. We're going to correct this Supreme Court because they're just flat wrong.
Right. Well, you had some experience in the national political scene. You were the Green Party candidate in 2004 for president, correct?
That's true.
So tell me what you think of the upcoming 2012 presidential drama. I mean, politically in D.C., are there any people in the playing field who you give any credit to?
Well, I got to say that here in Vermont, I got to give a shout out to Bernie Sanders, who's been a stalwart for progressive politics. But I want to be clear, Galen, that I am not looking to D.C. to solve this problem.
Right.
I've been traveling the country in the year that we saw each other. I was on the road for 2/3 of my life. That's part of the reason we now have over 40 affiliates of the Move to Amend that are working in their local communities. This movement is going to succeed on the strength of ordinary people like you getting involved in local actions. And it's also why I want to give a shout out to the folks at Vermont Commons and to the efforts of the secession movement here to actually open up the political space and the imagination space on whether or not we really believe that we're a sovereign people.
Right.
Because if we were really a sovereign people, it means that we have the authority to govern ourselves and that we have the authority to make these kinds of first principle questions about how to order our society. And honestly, when those kinds of questions start getting asked, then we'll actually open up the imagination space to recreate the world, which is what we need.
Well, one of the, counter arguments I've made in the, Vermont secession crowd is that if we have the sovereign rights to self-government, but we've chosen to let those rights collect dust and not exercise them, then we can't complain. And we shouldn't be pointing fingers at D.C. or New York or other places. We haven't stood up and exercised our rights.
It's just, and it is a question of exercising your rights. If you don't exercise your muscles, they will atrophy.
Right.
But what we also know is all you have to do is start exercising your muscles and you build capacity. Mm-hmm. And I want to be clear, you build capacity through struggle.
Right.
And that is the challenge that I think that we have to understand. I mean, the entire American historical experience has been ordinary people rolling up their sleeves and challenging concentrated power. Mm-hmm. And anybody in the 1840s who thought that you could abolish slavery, which was the institution that made the entire economy go, that was a crazy idea. Or to think that women should be allowed to vote. We could go down the list, Galen. I mean, all of these things that we now take for granted seemed impossible.
Sure. Well, in that same vein of impossibility, what do you think the chances, or how do you think it could play out that the Occupy Wall Street people and movement could somehow see this common ground, this as the bridge issue with the Tea Party people or with the secessionist types of people out there? I mean, I still see this as a lightning rod issue that has the potential to unite all these various sort of spectrums. How does that? What has to happen to make that grassroots spark?
Well, what we have to do is start talking to one another and put aside our rhetoric and our platitudes and actually engage, and that means listening to one another. You know, I've gone to Occupy Wall Street events across the country. I've also gone to Tea Party rallies and talked to individuals there and found the common ground.
Right.
I'm already seeing it happening. And if you actually look in Occupy Minnesota, I was there. I did a teach-in. I found out after I left, through a General Assembly unanimous process, they passed a resolution, and get this language: we hereby order the U.S. Congress to introduce an amendment to abolish corporate personhood and establish that money is not speech.
Nice.
This is not difficult, Galen.
Right.
We just need to start talking to one another, start to vision what the change would be, and then to start creating the change.
Great. Well, I agree completely, and I think I'm enjoying a similar journey of trying to be seeing the connections between, there's an interesting libertarian Ron Paul movement in Vermont, and there's also kind of strange and interesting secession movement, and then there's also a very strong progressive radical left movement. And actually, I think the secession movement is where those two groups have kind of mixed and mingled, and it's really bizarre and interesting and inspiring and confusing, but actually see everything that you're saying is happening here. It seems to me that the culture war sort of issues have kept people divided.
The ruling elite are doing
question. It's not a substance issue.
The ruling elite do that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
They take a couple of wedge issues and they keep us apart.
Right.
And I think that what I'm excited about, whether it's Ron Paul, whether it's the Occupy Wall Street, whether it's the Tea Party